I cannot believe that just lying down and breathing for 35 minutes can shift the way I think and feel and act. I was like, wow, like I was so much kinder to myself. It was life-changing. We can change our state so quickly through a couple of breathing techniques. And then once we change our state, our machine, like I was kind of saying before, then the mind and the story stuff changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Literally, I'll just do like a couple of fast breaths like this. Go. Again.
Feeling confident in your skin is so much more than what you see in the mirror.
And how can you feel good? Well, that starts from within.
Welcome to the In Your Skin podcast. I'm Christy.
And I'm Anna. Join us each week as we sit down with world-leading experts and thought leaders to delve into the latest insights, groundbreaking research, and cutting-edge advancements in wellness, longevity, and beauty.
Welcome to In Your Skin.
Thank you.
You have such an incredible story. What's one childhood memory that's shaped who you are today?
Ooh. One childhood memory that shaped who I am today. I think a lot of memories I had when I was little with my sisters was playing a lot of sport and just being outside in nature. Sounds a little bit cliche, but that actually, yeah. I loved soccer and touch footy when I was younger, and I have two younger sisters. So yeah, probably just sport, being active, moving my body, being out in nature, playing around, wanting to always move my body and being active, not really being the whole sort of street, like, you know, academic. It was always about movement and playing around. And so I guess getting into like Pilates, breathwork, even a bit of acting and modeling, it's always kind of that expression, isn't it? So I guess that's how it shaped me, yeah.
So like health was a big part of your early childhood.
Yeah, definitely. I remember I was actually talking to my friends about this the other day. Like my mum, like my lunch boxes, I would have like a Vegemite sandwich. I would have like cut up watermelon, cut up cucumber, and like some kids would have like tiny teddies or like Oreos, and I would like swap it with them at like lunchtime. Like my mum was super healthy. I remember what she drilled into us from such a young age was like your manners, your first impressions, and what you eat, and always wearing sunscreen.
Yes.
Big
I feel
one.
like that's still a big one.
It is a big
Always.
one.
Everyone's always telling me to wear sunscreen. Like,
Yeah,
hey,
I'm a bit naughty these days. But when I was younger, my mum would just lather it on my face, like 50 plus. Yeah.
I wish my mum did that.
Yeah.
I grew up in North Queensland and she didn't do that.
Really?
Paid for it a
Bad
bit later.
mum. Bad mum.
Terrible mother.
Bad. But yeah. Well, that's great. Like you're having that healthy, active lifestyle. It sounds like the very typical Aussie lifestyle. Where did you grow up?
So North Shore, Sydney. So like near Chatswood, I went to school there. And then my family moved to Canberra for my dad's work. And then we came back to Sydney. So I've literally been here my whole life, and then just recently moved to the east because a lot of my work is up there now. And I love it. Kind of left the humble abode, living out of home. Yeah, so Sydney gal.
Yeah. What were your teenage years like?
Oh, teenage years.
You had a good childhood.
I had a good childhood.
Up until the teens?
Up until I turned 13, 14, it went to shit.
I think we all had that though.
Yeah.
I did anyway.
My teenage years were tough. Yeah. They were like, I think it's that, I don't want to say classic because some people might not be able to relate, but you know, you're trying so hard to fit in. You're trying so hard to look a certain way, be a certain way, act a certain way. You know, people influence you, boys influence you, things, social media. And so I got a little bit lost for a while there, just kind of hanging out with the wrong people, doing the wrong thing. But I mean, as you were kind of saying before, Anna, about like shaping who you are, I guess those teenage years shaped who I am today and brought out a lot of life experiences. And being a teenager it's hard. Like it's really difficult, you know?
Were there any key moments in that time that really impacted you and had whether it was a positive impact or even a negative impact that helped really shape who you are today?
Yeah, I think I sort of remember I was working in real estate when I was like 18 and I'd left school. Didn't love school very much. And I remember just like a little video on YouTube. It was like a Tony Robbins video. And I was doing like letterbox drops and I was 18. And I remember just like listening to this video that's kind of the first sort of self-development, motivational sort of thing I'd sort of gotten into. And that was quite pivotal for me because I remember being like, oh, I don't have to be anxious, sad, depressed, so in fight or flight all the time. It sort of brought me out of like, there's more, like I can feel better. I can maybe change because other people are doing it. That was that was kind of a pivotal moment.
And you say you wanted, or you started to listen to Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
What led you to that point? Because not many 18-year-olds are probably wanting to listen to Tony Robbins because they feel so stuck in life.
Yeah, so true. I think I was really stuck with like the sort of chapter that I was in. I had sort of come out of sort of other circumstances and then thrown myself into a job, and I'd left school because I thought, that's the right thing to do. We've got to make money, have a job. But my poor little mind was still so anxious and so down. And so I think I was just so sick and tired of always being like sick and tired, like of my own shit. And I think there was kind of like that classic thing of like you feel so low and so down, a bit of a rock bottom, that it did happen to be just like on YouTube doing letterbox drops. It kind of just came out, which I feel like I don't really believe in coincidences these days. I feel like it was all definitely meant to happen, Yeah. So I think it came from just the pain that I was in, And
what pain were you in?
What pain was I in? I was very disconnected from my body, super disconnected. I think.
And what does that mean, being disconnected from your body?
What does it mean, being disconnected from your body? Not really liking my body, not being friends with my body, not speaking nicely to my body, like the thoughts that would go through my head, not having any space between, like if you say something to me, I'm just kind of reacting. I'm not really listening, not responding. There was no spaciousness or groundedness or kind of alignment with my body. It was sort of just kind of get up, go to the gym, pump your coffee, have the phone call, blare the music, do your work. I was kind of on autopilot. There was not a lot of presence or self-awareness of who I was and why am I the way I am. And I think for anything to sort of change, you got to have a little bit of awareness of yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think and that's the thing, there's these, for a teenager to have any kind of awareness, it's quite hard, isn't it? Because you are being bombarded with different messages from different people and influenced by, your peers and things like that, I think.
And you're also trying to work out
who you are,
what you want to become. Like there's so much that's going on in your teens. So it can be extremely tough.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And, when it comes to that kind of level of awareness, the Tony Robbins thing helped get you out of it. Was there anything else that made you think, okay, maybe I'm not where I'm meant to be right now?
Yeah, I think it was more, the body is so incredible, right? It's always kind of sort of sending us messages and like little whispers, and if we don't listen to those whispers, it ends up being a scream. And I think my body was always I was always super reactive. I would always break out with my skin. I would get really painful periods. I was just very angry. I didn't have any sort of intuition with like my food or my exercise. I was kind of one big hot mess. So I feel like when my body was being like, hey, your skin's awful, your periods are in so much pain, you're anxious all the time, you're not really looking after your body and being that kind to it. It was sort of like, that was a bit of a wake up call of like, it's kind of not normal to be and feel this way all the time. You know what I mean?
What gets you to that place? And also what underlying emotions, because you're saying you're angry and you're hurting, but like why? Like did you ever look back and go, well, that's why, or was there anything going on for you at the time?
Yeah. I think it's funny. Sometimes when I lead, when I do like my breathwork sessions and people have emotional releases and you can see when they kind of come out of it, their mind is trying to intellectualize like, why was I crying, or why do I feel this emotion? And people may disagree with me, but this is just how it kind of works for me, is like, sometimes I don't necessarily mind if, I finish a breathwork session and I'm bawling my eyes out. I sometimes say to like my clients and even myself, don't create a story. Don't intellectualize why you're crying. It's okay. It's beautiful to have these, liquids come down your eyeballs and just have some sort of emotional release. So yes, I think it's good to know yourself, like a bit of a mind map, and know why things happen. Sometimes I don't really give a shit. If I'm going to have a good cry and feel angry, at least it's healing, it's conscious, and it's kind of happening in like a safe way. If that's
and they also say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it is bringing up trauma as well from the past. And that's why a lot of people probably, I guess, react in those ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. So we kind of know now that everything is held in the body. So our emotions, our feelings, our memories, our experiences, everything we've been through in this life is held in what I like to call, one of my mentors kind of calls from shoulders down, as like this kind of machine, this kind of mechanic, right? So if everything's held in our body, where do we think that those experiences, painful and good, go? They don't just disappear. They end up kind of driving our life, right? Our subconscious is what holds everything. And so I think, you know, when we go into a breathwork session, you know, and there's other modalities, but for me it was breathwork. You can go into this session, you get out of your crazy little mind and you drop into your hearts, into the mechanic, into the machine. Stuff usually comes up, and we're such complicated little beings. We don't like to feel that stuff. We'd rather go for a run or have a cigarette or drink too much or distract on social media or go back to an ex, or, you know, I'm listing all the things that I've done before, right? Anything just to sit and feel and have no judgment of what it is that's kind of simmering in this body that wants to eventually come out.
Did you have to get rid of a lot of people in your life to get to where you are now?
Yeah. Oh shit, yeah.
All the time?
I have no friends. Yeah, such a good question. It's so interesting, like when you start to do this work on yourself and you start to just kind of go inside, you realize a lot of the people you used to hang out with are kind of on the same wavelength as you. And when you start to change, you're like, you're not changing with me. Like I can't. And it in no way does it mean that I'm better than or superior. None of that bullshit. It's just you start to change to a different frequency and a different kind of vibe. And you're like, and same with like relationships even. It's like you're either going to match me or you're not. And I think that's really interesting. Like, you know, it can be kind of a bit lonely and a bit weird, but I mean, we would probably all agree like boundaries are so important for our health and our well-being.
And I think everybody goes through it at some point in their life. Like I know I've gotten rid of certain friends and I felt that weight off my shoulder.
Yeah.
Whether it is friends, whether it is relationships, but knowing that it's okay and not to beat yourself up, but you're just moving in a different direction to other people.
Yeah.
And they can find like-minded people, but it's like you can't kind of stay there forever if you want to change.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And like it's grieving, it's painful, it's like weird because you're like, this is uncomfortable. And I think there was something I listened to on a podcast the other day. It was so interesting. It's like you kind of do all this work on yourself and you're planting all these seeds. And there's this kind of weird chapter of like you come out of like the comfort and old versions of yourself, old friendship groups, old things. You're doing all this work and you're in this middle ground where it's so fucking lonely and weird because all of these seeds that you've planted, the outcomes haven't happened yet. So you're in this weird kind of interim and it's weird and it's lonely and it's a bit isolating. And then parts of you want to go back to the old versions of you, be like, no, like this is why we did this. So it's like this.
Oh,
Yeah.
I completely relate.
It's life.
I completely relate. I feel like my whole last year has been exactly that, literally going into, and I guess as I expand and as I grow and, you know, we were talking before about doing, you know, certain things and spiritual practices or trying breath work or whatever the modality is that can help you to, I guess, lift your vibration or, you know, have that personal growth. It can mean that maybe you're leaving behind certain people and that's actually hard. And you mentioned that grief. How does breath work actually help with grief or processing emotions?
So I guess like an example is, you know, what we call a breakthrough breath work. And I mean, there's so many different breathing techniques and modalities to have some sort of certain intention, some sort of certain outcome. And so I guess when we talk about, you know, suppressed emotions in the body, what we sort of do is we do a certain breathing technique for a certain amount of time. And what happens is like we turn off that prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking mind, our doing mind, our analytical mind, all those thoughts. When we do a certain breathing technique for a certain amount of time, we're switching that off, which is lovely. And that's when stuff underneath that iceberg kind of comes up, right? And usually, it's suppressed emotions, it's memories, and it can be, you know, big traumatic things like grief, losing someone. But I mean, trauma, there's a spectrum. There's little trauma, big trauma, but it doesn't really matter if it's in your body. It's driving probably some part of your life, right? And so I think for me personally, I was so fascinated by that fact that I just was like, I'll do anything. You know, it got to that point for me where I was like, I'll do whatever to kind of get maybe these things out. And I don't even know what things they were. It was more just like, let's change my life now because I'm sick of the way I'm living.
Yeah. So you're a breathwork practitioner. That's what we call you.
Yeah.
Was there that like moment that you realized that breath could actually change the way you feel?
Yeah. Yeah. The first one I ever did, like, and I say this story so many times, but it's still like, no pun intended, takes my breath away. But I remember I did this session and I was in my room and like the door was closed and I was lying down and I did, I guess, what you call a breakthrough session, just a bunch of breathing techniques. And
was this your first one ever?
First one ever. And actually I'd done one when I was 17 in Ibiza, but that was different. This was like first one, you know, for like ready for
online,
it, you know.
like following a
on YouTube. Yeah,
okay,
just on YouTube, like breakthrough breath work. And, you know, you probably shouldn't. I mean, you can do it, but I was hungry to get it done. And I remember I did this session and I was crying, I was shaking, I was laughing. I had like cold sweats, I had tears, I had vivid memories of things that I thought I'd dealt with, which I hadn't. And then I sat up and I actually felt called to film it. So I should definitely send you the bit because it's crazy. It was like 2 years ago to this day. And I sat up and I'm like looking at my hands and I'm looking at like the garden around me and I'm going, holy shit, I cannot believe that just lying down and breathing for fucking 35 minutes can shift the way I think and feel and act. Like the night's sleep I had, the thoughts that followed after that, the love that I had for myself. I was like, wow, like I was so much kinder to myself and like my anxiety that day just disappeared. It was life-changing. And then the next thought after that was like, all right,
when can I do it again?
Literally, when can I do it again? I did it every day for months. I'm not even kidding, every single day. And then I remember I was with
And were you doing it for how long each day?
So like I was doing these breakthrough breath ones every day, which was like 45 minutes.
Quite a long time.
It's quite a long time. You don't need to do this once every day. Yeah, we've got different ones. Yeah, we'll get to that.
The shorter versions.
Yeah. And then I was with my partner at the time, and like we did like a little session together, and then I just had like a really strong sort of, you know, when like you get, and like being a woman, right? You get knowings about things. Like you're a mother, right? Like you just mother's intuition. Like you just get a knowing about something. After I did this breathwork session, it was like become a facilitator and teach this and help other people. And then literally the next day I just became qualified, spent all my savings and went, this is it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Soon she'll be teaching the classes.
Classes. You didn't take my job, Christy.
How can I do that?
And did you have a mentor growing up, or growing up, but also through breath work?
It was probably my dad. Mm-hmm. He's one that introduced breathwork to me, which he'll love me saying on this podcast. It was like he went to like his school reunion and he came home one day and he said, you should try this. And I was very like, Dad, I got yoga. I don't need breathwork. You know, I was all like that. And then I tried it and I was like, oh shit, he's onto something here. So it was quite lovely back then when I would talk about breathwork. No one really knew what I was talking about. It was like super taboo.
Why did he start?
Oh God, good. I mean, I think he was probably looking for, stress. I think he was stressed. He's, you know, he worked 6 days a week for the last like 20 years of his life, providing for his three daughters and his wife. And I think he was probably, I don't want to speak for him, but I'm assuming he was I think, you know, so much stress. Men they hold and they, you know, if they, not always, but, you know, he was there to provide. And I think when men get stressed, they tend to hold and keep it in. Whereas like women, we can usually chat and we're more emotional and more sort of open. Yeah. That's but you kind of know what I'm saying. Yeah. And I think for him, it was something of like a thing that just helped with stress. So he started just incorporating it before he went to work, not necessarily for like big emotional releases like I was doing. For him, it was just like, hey, this breathing technique has just shifted my state. I feel less stressed, less anxious, more focused to go on with my work call or my meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's great because you don't think men would be into something like breathwork as much, and especially back then when it wasn't really a thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's a cool dude, and he's my best friend and my mentor and my inspiration and, you know, someone that I, you know, speak to about everything. So it was nice that we had that together. We could speak about, you know, the breath work and what was happening. And then I became qualified quite quickly. But yeah, I would say he would have been my sort of main mentor that I would chat to about all of that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty special.
Yeah, it's really special. I'm lucky. I think sometimes I forget what it's, I'm so lucky to have a present father and a nice relationship with him. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about breath work not so long ago not being that known. Why do you think it's such a big trend now?
Yeah. I think the world is shifting a little bit. I think we're becoming a bit more holistic, aware, in touch. And I think we're trying to simplify things a little bit. I think, you know, there's so many wellness trends and biohacking and things, which are all amazing. But I think people are a bit tired. And I think they're like, what is this? And I think breathwork, it's so easy. Like it's
free.
It's free. Hello, guys.
I think people, the cost of living, do breathwork because it's
do
free.
it by yourself. It's free. But seriously, right? Like, you know, it's true. Like, and it all starts with the breath. And I think people are going, wait, so you're telling me that like I can do this myself and it's not, you know, going to another class or another workout or another wellness trend. It's like, I think people are tired, and I think people are wanting more simplicity, and breathwork is exactly that. And I think, not to toot my own horn, but I think I've done a good job in making that as like simple and relatable as possible to be like, guys, like this shit works. It's so easy. It's so simple and free.
Yeah. And there's the science behind it. Do you know much about it? Is that why it's becoming a big thing now? Are we knowing more about the benefits and how that really impacts us? And what are some of those benefits?
So I think the biggest thing is like, obviously we have our nervous system, our vagus nerve, which basically controls everything, our brain stems and our body, right? And we have time, just to sort of simplify, we've got two gears. We have our parasympathetic, which is our rest and digest, and we have our sympathetic, which is our fight or flight, right? So I think a lot of us are in fight or flight. A lot of us are waking up with our cortisol levels through the roof. You know, we're kind of like, we're sort of a bit highly strung. I think the science behind breath work is that I can do a certain breathing technique for a certain amount of time that's going to activate my parasympathetic, put me into that rest and digest. And it's that simple. So I think when we activate our rest and digest, our parasympathetic, like we'd all agree, we operate so much better when we're calm, when we're regulated, when we're responding, when there's space in our body for us to not just be like reacting to life. So I think people are going, wow, is it that simple? And this is not spiritual, woo-woo, or strange. This is the human body, and the breath is the remote control. It's where it all begins and all starts. And I think such a great thing of like, you know, we can change our state so quickly through a couple of breathing techniques. And then once we change our state, our machine, like I was kind of saying before, then the mind and the story stuff changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
And also if you have tried certain things, like you've gone to your medical practitioner and you can have this alongside that.
Totally.
It's like something where it's like you can just have it in your back pocket to bring out, use if you need to. And I think that's
100%.
great. And I think people are probably going to start doing that more. And like you said, because it's super easy to do, it's accessible, it's free, all those things.
Yeah.
So it's great.
I almost sometimes feel like, and I don't know if you guys will agree, but maybe sometimes people go, if it's that easy and that simple, like, oh no. It's almost like we want it to be complicated or to be like really pretty and aesthetic. It's like, no guys, like it's really that simple. And I think
it's because we're breathing every day and you just don't think we do it every day and you don't really take much notice of it unless you've got a blocked nose. Then you take a little more notice of it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's funny because it's something that you're doing every day, but the power of it is incredible.
When you learn the techniques, I think. And also I think one thing that I'm interested to learn from you, obviously we know going to a Pilates class or a yoga class, you combine both Pilates and breathwork within your practices, don't you?
Yeah.
Which is great. You get 2 for 1.
Yeah, 2 for 1, guys. I'm the real deal.
But like, what's the benefit of that? Like, why did you know, come up with that technique?
So I think the BRED method, and again, you know, it's basically just certain, as you were saying, movement and breath things into one that I've created of like to sort of basically just connect more deeply to yourselves and to feel more calm. And I think the events that I run is like always some form of movement, Pilates. I do a bit of dance. I do a bit of shaking. Shaking has been known to like be the quickest way to like reduce stress. They call it shaking the tree in Qigong. You just literally rub up and down for a couple of minutes. Yeah. Is
that it?
That's just me. Like, just a bit of shoulders, get nice and loose.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
just literally just shake
so
it off.
much more relaxed now.
See? It works,
Stress levels
guys.
down.
I wasn't lying, okay? And so I think the BRED method is just basically things that I just went, guys, this makes me feel so much better. So I put it all into one. And I think people just, it's just moving our body and breathing. But the thing that I think is different is we're mindful that we're doing it. So like when I used to do my high intensity workouts, I kind of lose myself. I'd be like going to the music and I get really intense. Don't get me wrong, I like that sometimes. But I think the BRED method way is to be so conscious and mindful of how your body and how your breath is, so we can just feel more connected. Because if we're not connected to our body, how can we really sort of see outside of ourselves if we're not connected here first, like plugged into ourselves? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think there'd be something more powerful when you're doing it in a community style environment as well, right? From a energetic and spiritual kind of level.
Totally.
To be able to connect with others who are also lifting their vibration. Be like next level euphoric kind of feeling.
It's such a vibe. It's so cool. Like the last one we had, it was like 65 people. The most I've had is like 75 people. That was my first one. And like, whew, it's crazy. It's so cool because everyone's there for, you know, as you're saying, similar reasons, like-minded women and men to sort of come together and just feel a bit better. And I think community is everything. It's like not only we're moving and we're mindfully breathing, but then we're finding people. And I think the BRED method sessions not only make you connect more deeply to yourselves, but once we're connected to ourselves, I can connect more deeply with the two of you. You know what I mean? Like proper emotional intimacy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of feedback from those events have been a lot about that, is feeling more connected to yourself so you can be more connected to other humans.
Yeah. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the support of our sponsor, Whoop.
Hey, Anna, what was your sleep score last night?
Well, wouldn't you like to know? No, it was 87%. What did you get?
100%.
Of course.
Whoop has me dialed in.
Okay, tell me a secret.
Well, I've been going to bed really consistently and I've been taking my Into Magnesium supplement, of course. Plus, Whoop tracks my sleep performance, how much sleep I got versus what I actually needed. It even breaks down into 4 stages: awake, light, REM, and deep sleep.
Well, that's what I love about it. Whoop auto-detects my sleep and it helps me stay consistent. Plus, the sleep coach gives me a personalized bedtime so I wake up feeling refreshed.
Exactly. Sleep is the foundation to everything. Recovery, performance, and even how I feel during the day. Whoop helps me optimize it.
Well, want better sleep? Well, head to whoop.com and get a free month when you sign up. If you want to try it yourself, sign up at joinwhoop.com/inyourskin and get your first month free. You've obviously gone through a massive transformation from breathwork. Do you have any other stories of other people going through a similar transformation or on their own journey, or a transformation that you can kind of share with us?
Yeah, from doing the breathwork sessions. Oh, so many, my goodness. One woman came to me and this was just after one of my private sessions with her, and she her period was super irregular and her hormones were sort of all a bit fluctuated and not great, and we did one breakthrough breath work and she had a very big emotional release, was crying for probably maybe 8 minutes or something, like truly nonstop, like tap was turned on. There's no thoughts there. You were just releasing. And a couple of days later, she told me that she got her period on the day that she was meant to get it. The colors were all perfect and she couldn't believe how much less anxious she felt. I mean, that's just one of them.
How do you think breath work changed her in that specific circumstance?
I think we hold so much emotional trauma in our bodies, especially our pelvic floor, like our womb space. And so when we feel safe enough to let go, but that is the bottom line, especially for women. If you don't feel safe, you're not going to let go. That's simple. There is no vulnerability or healing if your body doesn't feel safe. You might intellectualize it and say, yeah, I feel safe, but your body's like, no, you don't. We hold, like, you know, our body becomes tense. And so things like our hormones or our cycles are going to be not regulated, not kind of flowing, you know what I mean? And so I think for her, she had one of these sessions and then was such a big emotional release that then everything else was kind of flowing and moving in the way that it should. I've had other clients, like once she's a good friend of mine, and she took a while, like a couple of private sessions. Like, you know, I think everyone deals and feels things differently. Like for me, how I dealt with kind of hardship is like I was quite angry. I was quite sort of, you know, overtly out here. Whereas like my sister, for example, was more sort of, she would flee and become a bit numb and a bit disassociated. So we all deal with stuff differently. So she's a good friend of mine and we did a few sessions and it was always kind of not a lot of the emotional releases. And like now, like just in the last couple of months, like almost every session she does, she's like crying. She's like, I can't believe it. I never used to be the emotional girlie. I'm like, we're all emotional. We're all, come on.
And I feel just being open, it's hard to be open. Yeah. So especially if it is a friend, to actually do something like breathwork in front of a friend can also be a little bit daunting. And it's like that release of like, okay, I can finally let go.
Yeah. And that's so powerful. I had some energy healing. Actually, a friend of mine, she's an energy healer. She's an amazing women's coach. Here in Sydney, and I used to do a lot of, when I was in Sydney, a lot of energy healings with her. And even just from like her helping me shift my energy, I'd have these huge emotional releases and be in tears. And it's just so beneficial in terms of your mood, your health. And at the time I was trying to heal from gut health issues and things like that. And I 100% believe these modalities can help you to just shift your energy, you know, move, like allow your body to process emotions and anything that's stored.
I
that
completely
you can feel
agree.
your best.
I even for myself, I remember when I just got into breath work and like a lot of people were sort of, oh, you look so good. Like, you know, wow, you're even your body shape, my jaw shape, like my skin, my eyes.
Your eyes.
Eyes popping. And I was like, guys.
What's with the eyes? How does breathwork make your eyes pop?
I don't know.
Tell me the secret.
I don't know the science behind that one, but like my pupils and like the white on each side of my pupils are just like really clear. That happens when you fast as well. Like everything's just kind of
like a cleanse in a way?
Yeah. And I think people were sort of commenting on how I looked and how my energy was, and I hadn't changed anything in my food. I hadn't changed anything in my exercise. And I believe what I lost energetic weight. I lost like emotional weight. I lost like trauma out of my body.
Yeah. And I think when you've got a really positive, upbeat energy, that's going to show in your face as well.
Totally. Right.
So it is, you know, you can see
different.
you can see a beautiful woman, but if she's not a nice woman or a happy woman,
ugly.
She's not beautiful anymore. Be nice.
Be nice. Be kind, guys. No, it's so true. I mean, there's so many physically beautiful women, but their energy, their essence, their aura, if it's, I don't know, dimmed or suppressed or they're angry or resent, like they're not that beautiful. And like everything is energy. I mean, it's how you make other people feel.
So we want to do breath work for anti-aging benefits as well. Can it have an impact then on your skin? And
I reckon it can. I mean, I again, with like the eyes being clear and like my jaw being kind of more, because I think we need to obviously, when we're breathing through our nose, like I'll tape my mouth most nights. And I think when you obviously open your mouth, these muscles can't necessarily relax, whereas like your jaw is closed. So I think that had a lot to do with my actual jaw shape. My sister's always like, she's always like, I'm going to get the surgery for it. I'm like, you don't need to do that. Just do breath work. I'm like, just do breath work. She's so funny.
Does she do breath work?
Yeah, she does now. I have forced it upon both of my sisters. You can't force anyone. She does it in her own time. But I mean, anti-aging, hormone health, your skin, your regulation, like it all starts with the breath. Yeah. Just give it a try and see, right? Yeah.
So when it comes to something like anxiety, or if there's women out there who are anxious, how does breathwork help those people?
Yeah, such a good question. Anxiety for me was such a big one. It was like the norm for me to wake up every morning feeling anxious. Like there was a brick just sitting on my chest. I of course, as I was saying before, if our body isn't regulated and we're not sort of flowing and breathing properly, the thoughts up here are going to be a little bit messy and not so nice. And so I couldn't believe when I got into breath work and learned how to breathe properly by opening up my diaphragm, breathe as low and slow as I possibly can, like all the way down to your pubic bone. When I learned how to do that and I practiced that consistently, like I swear to you, my anxiety disappeared. I like.
And is that specific for anxiety, that form of breathing?
No, it's not, but like definitely such a good one, just like low diaphragmic breathing, like, you know, obviously.
So what do we do? Should we give it a go now?
So you know what? If you just put your left hand on your womb space and just kind of hold your tummy and literally just close down your eyes and don't even try too much or get too much into your head about it, but just try and breathe from your tummy and stick your belly out. So breathe in. See, it's kind of difficult, right? And then exhale.
My jeans are too tight.
The jeans are too tight. Breathe in, belly, stick out your tummy. Yeah. And exhale. Do one more like that.
And
breathe
do we
in.
Breathe out through our mouth or our nose?
So
and what's
always,
the difference?
yeah, great question. Always breathe in through your nose. Breathing out through your mouth through pursed like you're blowing out like candles. Like so longer on the exhale is really good for relaxation and helping with anxiety and sleep. And then out for 6. Yeah, perfect. So in for 2.
So slower? Okay.
Yeah, so breathe in. And then out for 6. 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe
I'm
in.
asleep.
Yeah, see? But it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And it's just, that was 4 deep breaths. And it does shift something. You get a bit tired. You get a bit like just more connected.
Yeah.
So
And what about energy? That would be a different breathing technique.
Yeah.
Can you take us through?
Yeah, totally.
How
So
I
like
get a bit more energy?
Yeah. So like, you know, for energy, you know, before coming here, I did have a coffee, but I did do some fast breathing as well. Literally, I'll just do like a couple of fast breaths. It's just in through the mouth, out through the mouth like this. Go. Again. So you get a little bit lightheaded. You're adding a breath hold, but you do kind of just get the oxygen moving from like head to toes and get a bit hot.
I actually did this this morning
you're all
because
over it.
on Whoop, I don't know if you've got a Whoop.
I don't.
But Chrissy and I both
Can I get
do.
one?
Yeah, we'll get you one. Are you out there?
Get me
No,
a Whoop.
it's great because it actually takes you through different breathing techniques, and
Wow.
one is for alertness. And I did that one this morning. It was that instant, I feel more alert. Exactly what it says it was going to do.
Right.
And it did it. So I
Right.
felt like I was ready to take on the day.
Yeah.
And I've been also doing, there's also one at night
Yes.
to relax you, which will be very similar to
Yeah.
the one you took us through as well.
Exactly.
So it's really interesting. Where else can people find the appropriate breathing techniques for their circumstance?
So I think, let's say example of like first thing in the morning, right? For me personally, first thing in the morning, I'm pretty loud upstairs in my mind. I need to calm it down. I mean, my roommate, she wakes up fairly calm and I'm kind of like jealous of how calm and sort of down, like, you know, so for me, I will do what we call coherence breath, and coherence breath it's my favorite. It's the MVP. It's the best one. It's in for 5, out for 5, in through the nose, out through the nose. You do this for 5 minutes or more. And what happens is like science and the facts is like our heart rate variability becomes in sync with our breath. So what that means is we're kind of beating in one big system. I think sometimes we get confused that we've got brain, gut, heart, that we're like, it's separate. No, we're like one big beat. We're one big rhythm. So doing that coherence breath creates that sort of flow state, that sort of that coherence between our sort of mind and our heart and our tummies, right? So I will do that one without fail, like at least once a day. And it does things like release oxytocin. The benefits last up to between 4 to 6 hours. Like this is just me giving the science behind it. And it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
YouTube, coherence breath.
Yeah.
Literally that simple. Get a bell thing, like a, you know, bing, bing.
It's like free natural drug.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah. And breath work is the quickest way to shift your state. Say we're feeling anxious, panic attack is coming. You wouldn't necessarily do your coherence breath. You would do what we call like a sniff, sniff, sigh. You know how little kids, when they regulate themselves, they go, you know, they're trying to like breathe in. Yeah, they're so cute when they cry. Oh, I love babies. Anyway, yeah. You know, so as adults, let's regulate ourselves. Not that we're crying in public, but like if we're feeling like a bit panicky, I will always go, like I'll take a deep sigh and I'll do in through the nose twice and then a big sort of sigh or R sound. I'm very noisy. I make lots of noise.
Working next to you at a desk, you'd be like,
no, it's so funny. Literally my roommate, but she's the same now, she'll do it. I'll just hear her be like, ah. I'm just like in the room being like, whoo, like just making noise. Like I want to normalize that because you feel different and it feels better. Like my Pilates gals, I take them through it like, I'll always finish with breathwork and I'm like, make an R sound. Give me an audible sigh.
I know, because I do reformer, and when we do the breathing techniques at the beginning and at the end, everyone's really, really silent. And I'm like, come on. I need some volume because I want to be able to do it, and I do it. And then other people then start to do it. But it's like,
you're the centre. You've
got to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, back on beauty tips.
Back to the real important stuff.
I heard that breathwork can be like a natural facelift. Is that true?
Wow.
Is it true?
I mean, is my face okay?
My face.
I haven't heard that one.
Okay.
But like, guys, I would not be surprised. Breathwork has
I wouldn't put it past breathwork.
No, breathwork has changed every compartment of my entire life. So I wouldn't be surprised if it acted like a natural facelift. I haven't heard that one. But I mean, I think perhaps with the jaw shape for me personally, like it did change the shape of my face. More that sort of like chiseled sort of look. So
and I think energetically,
I'm going to say
right? You know, just lifting.
You might be smiling more.
You're smiling.
You're happy.
Yeah.
You're breathing.
What about for women, right? Is there a better time in our cycle that we're doing breathwork classes or different techniques, you know, depending on where we are in our cycle?
Love that question. So I would say, again, that coherence breath that I was talking about, in for 5, out for 5, do that whenever you want at any time of your cycle. For me, when I'm coming into, that time of the month, I won't necessarily do fast open mouth breathing with breath holds, just because you want to be gentle to your womb space. You want to kind of be breathing with your belly, be breathing with your womb. So I would take it very gentle, box breath, slower exhales, humming is so yummy, R sounds, any of that, I would say, I mean, look, the body's incredible. The female body is incredible. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, coming to that time of the month, I'm not necessarily doing like big, intense, fast mouth breathing with breath holds. I'm sort of just taking it really calm and really sort of slow. Yeah.
Can it have any impact on helping with digestion and bloating or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the nervous system is such a link to our digestive functions, right? So let's go all the way back to where it starts, which is the breath. So as I was kind of saying before with those breathing techniques, like the slow diaphragmatic breathing, you do that for a certain amount of time. It's going to activate our parasympathetic. Our parasympathetic is then, and our nervous system is then going to be linked to that digestive function. So yeah. It helps everything.
Do that before you go out to a big Chinese.
Totally. Do your slow breathing. It helps with digestion. That coherence breath, it literally does help with digestion. You can wear that tight dress, still look sexy, and do your coherence breath.
Just trying to get all these hacks, right?
There's so many things, but there's so many things. I sound like I'm a salesperson for my own business, but it all starts with the breath.
You got to do it.
It all starts with the breath. Yeah. So before we do our movement or our biohacking or anything, get your breath right.
So when it comes to sleep, what is the best breathing technique to get you into that relaxed state right before bed?
Yeah, definitely always longer on the exhale. So, I mean, I do this most nights, in for 4, out for 6. So kind of what we were doing before. You breathe in through your nose and either out through your mouth or nose through pursed lips. Just longer on the exhale.
And does duration matter? How long you do it for?
Not necessarily. I mean, depending kind of what sort of day you've had and the stress you're feeling, or if there's someone else in the bed with you or kids or whatever, like I do it for as long as you'd like to. I know for me, I eventually like fall asleep to it, which is, I mean, that's what you want, right? So no, there's not too much in the duration, kind of, I guess, until you fall asleep. But I think that 5-minute mark is always nice. And 5 minutes is achievable. Like, guys, there's no excuses. You can do 5 minutes of breathwork in the morning.
Yeah.
For those people who say they can't meditate.
Oh, great question.
What is the difference between like meditation and doing breathwork?
Yeah.
And is there any benefit or bigger benefit from breathwork if you're someone who's like, I can't meditate?
And also, can we convince them to do it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. These questions are so good. So meditation and breath work, so different, right? Meditation is sitting with your thoughts and sitting with kind of what comes and what goes. And it usually starts with a little bit of light breathing at the beginning. Breath work is different in the sense is that I'm giving you something to do the entire time. So the sessions that I run at the Pilates studios is 35 minutes of just breathing techniques. Mm-hmm. So many people come out of it and say, my God, I wasn't even thinking about anything. I just went somewhere else. It's like, yeah, because you're doing something the whole time. You're doing a breathing technique. So for me, when I would wake up in my fight or flight and my cortisol levels are spiked and they're like, hey guys, sit with your thoughts and meditate. I'm like, I literally can't. The breath work, giving you something to do, doing those breathing techniques, those breathing exercises to change that machine, that mechanic, that state, then going into your meditation. Perfect morning routine. Do your 5 minutes of breath work, then try meditation. My goodness, it's crazy the difference of the mind chatter and the thoughts that you will think after you do just 5-6 minutes of breath work, then into the meditation.
And
it's
just
really
even
cool.
getting into your body, which I think is a big one, which is really hard for a lot of us, especially women, especially when we're always on, always juggling multiple things, busy.
Yeah.
So much stuff. And to get into your body and remember and to feel and process.
Exactly.
It's such a big thing that we just don't do. And that's why we're all getting sick and illnesses because we're just not processing.
No, I love that. And you're completely right. You're completely right. And I think, you know, there's so much, pressure's the wrong word, but there's so many things on the whole like morning routine and what you should or shouldn't be doing. You know, I honestly, firstly, my morning routine looks quite different depending on the night's sleep I've had, what I have on that day, who's with me, the position, where I'm at in my cycle. But without fail, I will always do even just 5 minutes of just slow breathing and I will shake my body for a couple of minutes.
And it's also something you can use throughout the day as well. So you can always have it there if you've got, like if you're having a stressful moment, if you need like all these different moments in the day, you can bring it out because it is 5 minutes. You can go sit in your car and you can just 100%. Have that like moment to yourself. Yeah. And I think that's what's so great about breath work. You don't need anything else but yourself.
Yeah. No, you're so on the, like literally. And I think, you know, it doesn't matter what level of fitness you are or anything like that. Like if you're alive, you can do breath work. It doesn't matter like what age or what fitness level.
Breath work when it comes to males and females, is there a difference?
Yeah. Biologically, we have very different little systems, right? Like women have a second body clock, which is called the infradian rhythm, which is based on a 28-day cycle, which is usually around your cycle. Men don't have that. They have just their circadian rhythm, 24 hours. So they wake up, they have cortisol and testosterone. They're basically the same until like 4, 5 p.m. They feel like a bit of a slump. Women are quite literally different every 4 days. It's like a big, crazy roller coaster of emotions. We're like, yeah, we get it. Look, once we accept that, we realize it's our superpower. We're not actually that crazy. It's actually just harnessing those things. Anyway, that's a different topic. It's a different topic. But I will say that because our bodies are biologically so different, what I notice, and I don't know the science behind this, but men will get super hot and women will get quite cold.
During the breath work?
Yeah, like during kind of certain breathing techniques. That's just something that I have noticed in like men and women's bodies.
So would you teach the same class for both men and women?
Yeah. So when I'm teaching at the Pilates studios, it's quite a sort of generic, sort of straightforward, sort of specific sort of bread flow. Obviously with my one-on-ones, that's very different because we're maybe targeting something specifically. And, you know, like men and that different energy in women, it's a whole different thing. So I think a lot of it is based on how I feel in that moment and that intuition. I will say that women, they love to be like touched. Like when I touch them, it gives them more permission to feel and to cry. Sometimes when I touch the guys, I kind of get a bit like,
but don't you reckon it's like a hug? Like whenever I'm like really upset, if you hug me, I'm going to bawl my eyes out. I'm like, don't hug me.
Totally.
These are going to come.
You don't even need to hug Anna to make her cry.
Oh, I just cry. I'm going to cry. Happy tears.
That's great. What about the masculine, feminine energy, I guess, in terms of helping women like,
I love this topic.
really just get into their feminine, because I feel like we are living in a world now, and I have definitely felt it because I was been building businesses for 15 years and really adopted the masculine energy of the doing, the goal setting, all that kind of stuff. And I found it really hard. This is why I'm really interested in breathwork.
Yeah.
To be able to drop into my feminine, and which is where we manifest from, where we are able to really, energetically bring in what we want when we are in our feminine.
Yeah.
Like, how can breathwork help you do that?
Not to mention be able to bring like a soul into our bodies and then have it out of us and create a little human. Like we're amazing. I think I can so relate to the masculine thing. Go, 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 get it done, hustle, achieve, all that stuff. And I like that part of me sometimes. Now I'm kind of a bit, I identify more with being in my feminine, absolutely. I think the practices that most got me into my feminine, and to explain what feminine energy is or being in your feminine, it basically means softening, relaxing, nurturing, receiving. So just sitting back and receiving love, receiving to let go, to just not do anything, to just be. So difficult for all of us because we've been brought up in society and all that stuff. But for me to get into my feminine, to allow myself just to receive and soften and let go, definitely the breath work and the slow breathing, because you become connected to your body, right? And once we become connected to our body and what our body is capable of, that's where, as you were just saying, things like falling into your lap, manifestation, not having to do too much, just being with nature and being with ourselves. And I think it's
even
it's
having good relationships.
Yeah.
For all those single ladies out there.
Yeah.
Try breathwork.
Guys, single girls, try breathwork. Absolutely. I think
become a magnet.
Yeah, become a magnet. Do breathwork and you will never be single again. Kidding. I agree though. I think when we become connected to our body, so we do that through breath work, when we're more connected, we can make better choices for ourselves, right? So if I'm more connected to my body, I'm not going to make this choice or take that action or ring that ex guy or, eat that terrible thing because I've eaten it every day, all day, or watch that thing on whatever, right? Because we're more connected, so we're more aligned. So we usually want to make choices that are better for ourselves. And as we were saying before, when we start to do all that work on ourselves, we start to glow from the inside. And you become a magnet. You bring it all in. You do. I've got so many stories of friends that have then met their partners that have just, least expected.
Yeah.
Or
because you've got a different aura, a different energy. And you don't care what other people think about you anymore. It's more about just you and how you feel.
100%. And, that's where all of this is rooted from, is our self-love and our self-worth. So when I look at a woman that loves herself fully and is connected to her body, her self-worth, her feminine energy, you are pulled to them. There is nothing more attractive, in my opinion.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I'm just how much breath work's better for your sleep, better for your health, getting rid of emotional baggage, finding your partner, becoming the best version of yourself. It's like, what can't it do?
And it's free.
Guys, we're such good salespeople.
But as Chrissy said earlier, it has been around for centuries. It has picked up momentum. Where do you see breathwork going in the future?
I reckon it'll be everywhere. I reckon there'll be breathwork studios everywhere. I reckon it'll be very, very how there was, well, this is not a trend, but people, being vegetarian or fasting or yoga, it's getting to that, it's mainstream. Like breathwork mainstream. And that's what I want to do, is make it mainstream because it's so simple.
And something that just came to me, I was like, how nice would it be for everyone to start their day when they go into the office to do breathwork, 5 minutes. Hopefully your boss will allow you to do 5 minutes and everyone will be in such a better headspace for the day. So easy.
So easy. Yeah. And that is my intention.
Yeah.
My intention from the beginning of all of this is I obviously started to feel so much better and more connected to my body. And it's that classic thing of like it becomes bigger than you, right? I was like, oh, I think I can make a bit of a difference here. Like I think I can actually help other people because it helped me so much. And I think that my intention has always been to just spread breathwork as far as I possibly can and to help as many humans as I possibly can, because we're better together. Women are better together when we're authentic, when we love ourselves, when we're genuine, when we're not, competitive or weird. We are so strong and so powerful together.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think you're doing a really great job. Now we're going to end with one last question that we ask everybody on the podcast. What does it mean to feel great in your skin?
To feel great in my skin feels a beautiful balance of my feminine and masculine energies. It is waking up and doing slow breathing, practicing gratitude, going for a walk, getting in touch with nature, no phone. That is what it means to be so comfortable underneath my skin and to just love myself and be as regulated and kind as possible.
It's really
Love
nice.
that. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on In Your Skin. Where can we find you on social media? We're going to leave some info in the show notes as well, but where can we find you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is just Eddie Nelson and my business page is in there. My website's dailybread.com.au. And yeah, you'll find everything there. There's more events and things and there's really exciting things that are coming.
Amazing.
Very exciting things. Yeah.